here, this is where we ended up, contract session 1. We're going to move on to some other contracts now. We have covered, what kind of contracts so far?
They're talking about the void, those ones.
There's a good place to start.
I think the void, voidable.
Executory.
Yeah.
Executed.
So we've been learning the mechanics.
Yeah.
And then what the public's rights and our responsibilities are. What we're going to do now is we're going to move to some of the other contracts. What we've done so far is between us and the seller or buyer. Now these contracts are between the person that owns the house and the person buying the house. We're not part of this contract. We will fill it out for them. We're allowed to fill out contracts by filling in blanks. We can't write contracts, but these are pre-printed. We're going to see one here in just a minute. But what we're going to look at is the same thing we had in the other contracts, the principles. You've got to have certain things for a contract to be valid. It's going to be here too. We're going to have all our consideration, our offer, all our legal ease is going to be in there, and we're going to have the acceptance. That's where this works. All that stuff we've been doing. We'll cover all these things. What is a contract? It's a definition of it would be a legally enforceable set of promises. And that's what it is. I promised you I'll bring money to the table. You promise you will bring the title. So we've got what we need. I said, fill in the blanks. That's what we're going to do. We're going to fill in some blanks here in a minute. You cannot write your own contracts. Now down at the bottom we got 2 little paragraphs there. This one is from General MacArthur in World War II. He said, I do not want messages that can be understood. I want messages that cannot be misunderstood.
Wow.
And that's the way our contracts are. You start writing it, you're going to be misunderstood. This is what I was thinking, but that's not what they were thinking. So we got to make it clear so everybody that reads this can have the same interpretation of it. An example is that next paragraph. You can put in the contract, seller to replace carpet. That sounds, I understand that. What kind of carpet? What color? What price? You going to do the pad too? No. Do you really think he's going to get the carpet in there that you want? Not likely. He's going down and buy remnants. He didn't want to replace the pad. It smells like cat urine, but I said, you didn't say replace the pad. You said replace the carpet. This is exactly what I'm talking about here. Keep it simple. Seller to give $2,500 carpet allowance.
So
Then would bring the price in. Yes, Mary, thank you. You'll bring the price down $2,500. Then it'll just show up as a credit on the closing statement. They won't hand you $2,500. Now you got to buy carpet though, but you got the house for $2,500 less. Now you go buy the remnants and decide if you can live with that cat smell. It might be okay now that your money.
No, of course it is.
Different with your money.
That's the way it works.
Again, we've got all the same things in our purchase and sale contracts that we had in our others, our listings. We've got the or and the e here. They're going to stretch that a little further and they call it vendor and vendee. Or is the give-or, e's the give-tee. These contracts start out as offers. We're going to have all our legal stuff on here, names, all that. We're going to terms, conditions, all that. That is an offer. The offer is not likely going to be accepted unless they're up against a wall. and got to sell it today for a low price. Otherwise, your first offer is going to be where we start. Your first offer, they tell me, should embarrass you. If your first offer that you give someone does not embarrass you, it's too high. I get offers in here, they should be awfully embarrassed. Now we got today, $170,000 house, they offers us $125,000. Yeah, well, he probably wasn't embarrassed. No, he said, if I can get it for $125,000, I did good.
All right.
Wow.
We got a couple things that have been added down at the bottom. The time of the essence, that's new in our contracts. Now, when you write a date and time in it, that is like carving it in stone. It's got to close by September the 30th. If here is October the 2nd, we haven't closed, somebody's in breach. We've been having to do a whole lot of contract extensions because it's rare one closes on time. There's always something. You'll be sitting at the closing table and the mortgage company will send us notice that we just need one more little piece of paper. Can you tell us, you were late on a car payment back in June of 14. Can you tell us more about that?
Really?
Yes, really. Here's a contract. This is a purchase contract. It's got a lot of different names. You see up there, you'll hear it called purchase and sale, a sales contract, what else? Purchase agreement. But if it's got all those words and you can kind of guess it is a sales contract for a piece of property. Starts as an offer. One-sided, bilateral offer of a promise that if I do this, I want you to do that. And there's more to it than the price. I want you to do that can cover a whole lot more stuff. That could cover, oh, you got a nice pontoon boat down there. I'm just going to write that into the contract. Seller to leave pontoon boat at no charge, no value. You may get the boat. It's happened. I know of a case that it happened. There was a second thought. She just saw the boat sitting down there. I wonder if I can get that. And she got it.
Wow.
More to it though. This, I want you to notice this agency disclosure right here. This is number one. That's how important this is now. The agency disclosure used to be down on about the third page. This is who needs to know who's working for whom. You will be the listing company maybe, and if you are, you're going to fill this one out. You're an agent of the seller, or you're not an agent, or you're representing both of them. How are we working here? Other thing, the selling something, the company, same thing. What's our relationship? Are we agency, single agency, dual? How are we working together? That's disclosed right here before we even get to the price. We need to know, are you representing me? Can represent me? Embarrass me. Let's give a low offer. But there's where you start, right there. You see, we got all this other stuff, the legal who, what, when, where, why, all that stuff's wrapped up. Everything is expressed. There's nothing in a real estate contract implied. If it's implied, it's not there. You better have a piece of paper that says, yes, the boat goes with the house. Not just say, yeah, you can have the boat too. Ooh, yeah, we can have something like this. And another thing, the boat would not transfer with a title like a house does. They transfer with a bill of sale.
That's correct.
You just write up a bill of sale, someone used this, that, I don't know, they put a value on it or something. But it transfers different. Then we've got some contingencies. We've talked about those. A contingency is going to be, can you give me a couple of them?
Closing date. No. if the seller sells their house before, what's your point? I missed that.
If they don't say, if they don't have their own, if they don't, sell their current
Oh,
home,
that's what I was about to say.
then they're not obligated to.
Yes, thank you. That's a contingency. If they can't sell their house, they can't buy this one. The other one's financing. Thank you for that. That's usually your big one, the financing. I'm gonna say no more than 20% of the deals are cash. Everybody else gotta have financing. And you've got different types of financing. We're gonna get into those when we get to the finance chapter, but depending on what it is, there'll be different costs involved. And as you're negotiating this, you need to know that those costs are there
Because somebody's gonna have to be responsible in the end.
in the end. And you are advising your client. You need to tell your client, like, okay, well, this one's got FHA financing on it. You need to explain to them how FHA financing may affect them. If the FHA appraiser goes to the house, he's looking for health and safety issues as well as the house. He sees things that need to be fixed. He makes a note of it. These others don't. The conventional, okay.
They just inspect the house
Yeah.
as a whole, as it.
But there's in the contract somewhere, it'll put a cap on that. We'll pay up to repairs up to 1% of the value of the house or something. So you need to know it's coming. So you can tell your client, hey, you may have to do some repairs because, we walked around the house before we listed it and there's a lot of work that needs to be done here. And,
So the buyer would have to do those repairs at that time?
seller.
The seller.
Oh, the sellers, okay, the
Yeah.
sellers still would have to do it.
If it's an FHA appraisal, the appraisal is not valid until these repairs are made. So you got to counsel your folks. Hey, you need a roof. There's water spots on every room in here.
I was, prior to, when I was looking for my husband, I was looking for a home. And we looked at a house that was a foreclosure, and it had, most of the light fixtures were missing. And my agent advised me of the fact that those things may have to be dealt with depending on what type of loan it was going to be.
So we're going to get into more of that as we get through this. Right now, we're just looking at the contract itself and what's going in it and who's in it and everything's expressed. All right, so here we've got our first contract. Let's make an offer. We want to buy this piece of property and we're going to offer $100,000 for it. Let's just assume we've filled all this other stuff in. Everything's filled in, and this is what we're going to send them. The buyer's agent. Now here, this is important because everybody's got this backwards in their head. The listing agent is the person who represents the seller. The selling agent represents the buyer. It's hard. I mean, you'll wrestle with this, but here it is. That's how it works. The listing agent represents the seller. The selling agent represents the buyer. So the listing agent is going to get with you, and if they're your agent, they're going to advise you. Well, we have done the comparables around here, and we believe this house is probably worth $105. So let's don't offer them full price. This is a fun game of negotiating. Let's offer them close so they'll know we're serious. So let's offer them 100 on a house we think's worth 105. They've got it priced at, say, 110 or 109, 110. All right. This is going to be right here. You see how that blue stands out? Use blue ink on your black contracts. That way when you scan down through here, bam, you can see right away what was written in here. Typed words take precedence over the printed. So if you've got this printed and you type something in here, it overrides this. handwritten overrides both. So, what we're gonna do, we're gonna send this offer on over to the seller. Whoops, wrong button. And the seller said, oh no, well, it must have been listed at 129 or something. So the seller, now we sent it to them. This is now in their hands and they're looking at it. They think we're off. We offered them 110, they said, no, that's not enough. You want to strike one line through the price. So everybody can go back and see, here's where we started. Don't just squirrel it out and use a black marker to get rid of everything. Just one line's enough. Then write in your new price. Most everything we're doing now is in DocuSign, stuff like that, so it'll print out like this. Sometimes you'll write it with a pen, but you're going to write your new price right over there, 120, and then you've got to draw a little line, and your seller, or whoever SR is, let's see, that would be, yeah, that's the seller.
So,
He's changed it to 120 and initialed it. Another little line there is for who?
buyer.
The buyer. They've got to initial it too.
Yeah.
Now, once they initial it, we'll move on. That may be the only change that was on the whole contract. And if that was the only change, once they initial it and sign it, it'd go back and be communicated back the acceptance. Then we've got it two-sided.
Okay, so, hold that for a minute. So, when they negotiated and went to the 120, and they aired out the 100, there's no signature or initial to go there? They just
Just
take
strike it.
Uh-huh,
Yeah, you strike what you don't want.
right, but
But
do
what you
have
do,
Uh-huh.
then initial it, that I did this, and if you like it, you need to initial it too.
I'm still at the 100.
Okay?
Like, they went to 120.
Yes?
So when they scratched out the 100, they didn't have to initial the 100, just the new price?
Yeah.
Okay,
Because we're not, the 100's gone. We're not
Okay.
playing that game.
okay.
They're
So
not going to take
no
100.
initial is needed?
Yeah, they're
Just
not
for the
taking
new?
100.
Okay,
I'll take 120, and
Okay.
there's my initial. If you agree with me, you initial it too,
Okay.
and we've got a two-sided deal.
gotcha. Okay.
Okay? Good? Everything's good there. Options are kind of like the sales contract that's still just kind of hanging out there. An option is where the optionor, the or, the giveor, is giving you an option to buy their property at a certain price that we negotiate today at some time in the future. It may be a year or two, it may be 10 years. But there's a window there that I have the optionor tells the buyer, you can buy this piece of land for this price, these terms, up until this date. Now, all contracts have to have something for something. What do you think we got in this contract? All he's given him was, I'll let you buy it. Don't you think he should get something too? Something for something. There's
Some kind
no
of retainer?
contract. There's no contract if we don't have something for something. So it's called an option premium. Somewhere in there.
Right there.
There it is. Option premium. Let's say I'll give you $1,000 for the right to buy your land in 1 year. Uh-oh. Excuse me. I guess we need to update the computer right now.
Go to the other screen.
Okay, here we go. All right, the premium, I'll give you $1,000 for the right to buy your house during this period, this time. Now, we've got a contract because you promised me something, I promised you something. We could write in this option that if I exercise it, then that $1,000 will apply toward the purchase price. You're not ever going to have one that's refundable. That if the end of the period you decide you don't want it, I'll give you the option premium back. That wasn't a contract. That's nothing. But it obligates the seller, but does not obligate the buyer.
Mhm.
The buyer has the right, but not the obligation.
Say that again?
The buyer has the right, but not the obligation to buy. And you could reverse that with the seller. The seller has the obligation,
Yeah.
but not the right to get out of it. There are no contingencies in an option. You take it or you don't. You don't put an option on, I'll buy your house December 34th, but I gotta sell mine first. No, that's not an option contract. Okay, either party may assign their right to buy that. I don't know if y'all know the story about Walt Disney
Yeah, bought all the property.
buying all that property, and he went down to Orlando and sent real estate brokers out with options. And they put options on 100 acre, 200, they just, and kept the price right there at today's price. Had those people known Walt Disney was coming to open that, what do you think would happen to that price?
Oh, escalated.
So option is how they did it. They got the price at today, and they got the property at today's price. I think it was sharp.
It was.
It really
Good
did.
thinking.
What does may assign options mean? Assign what? I mean.
That's where we're going right now. That's what that,
Okay.
thank you, Marcel. See, assignment is what he did. He came in, Walt Disney came in there, and they got these options to buy.
Mhm.
And they probably assigned them to Walt Disney World. It may have, the option may have been between the seller and some real estate brokerage
Oh,
that's
okay.
saying, you know, we want this option. And then once they got it, they assigned it to Walt Disney.
Gotcha. Okay.
Where we saw these a lot 20 years ago was on the beach. You'd see a sign go up on the sand that said 20 unit going up, be done in 2 years, and they're going to be $200,000. $1,000 down, you can buy one. You say, ooh, 2 years from now, this ought to be worth a whole lot more than it is now.
Mhm.
Yeah, give me 2 of them. I got $2,000. Give me 2 of them.
Yeah.
Now I've got a contract giving me the right to buy one of these brand new condos
Mhm.
for $200,000. Now a year later, it's worth 250.
Might be more than that.
It could be down there. They were going up so fast. Those contracts would assign and assign and assign and assign. Now the last person down here that could not perform, if they can't, it falls back. It just keeps falling back. Like if this one couldn't do the deal, they couldn't get the financing, then the one that assigned it to them, it falls back on them. And they may be able to do it. And they're probably glad to do it right now.
Mhm.
And it may fall on back.
Back to you.
It could.
I want one of those condos you got down there, because I know you got them.
I used to live on the beach in Panama City.
I knew
Wow.
it.
I did. Lived there. It was
Yeah.
wonderful.
I know you got it,
It was wonderful. I keep thinking one day I'm going to retire and go back down there.
Oh, you are.
Yeah. Okay, we got that. This bottom line down here. There have been people that will use options to get around real estate rules. Example. You've got a house in a nice neighborhood that the property values are going up, and I come to you and say, I'd like to buy your house. I'll give you an option on it, and we work out a price, which is lower than what I think I can really get for it. So I'll give you an option. I'll buy your house at $100,000 by December 31st. And you say, okay, and what's in it for me? Remember, it's got to be something in it for her. So I'm going to give her a $1,000 option premium. Now I'm going to put a sign out in front of that house for sale by owner.
You can't.
And I'm going to sell your house.
No.
Yeah, that's what they do. They actually they've written a rule that we cannot use options to get around our real estate laws because people were doing that.
Oh, that's why he used you like that, and Ben said that, and you said, no, you can't do that. Why?
Thank you, Vanessa, for clearing her up. She thought I was gonna buy her house $1,000 and call her mine. Move in. COLA. Y'all remember what COLA was? Help me out with COLA.
Consideration.
Consideration?
Offer, legals, and acceptance.
Paralegals?
Acceptance.
Acceptance.
All right, so y'all know all of our contracts got to have that. And we had this, all these little examples we've been doing, we've had all those things. What we looked at a minute ago was the purchase agreement, sales agreement. There's nothing outside of that piece of paper. There are no other agreements. That piece of paper expresses everything to do with this sale. We don't have a little side agreement that says, okay, well, I own a furniture store and I'll give you some furniture if you buy the house. If that's not in the purchase agreement,
It's not there.
doesn't happen. Gonna list all our conditions, everything is in that form. When you're gonna close, who's gonna split the cost, who's gonna pay for this, who's gonna do that, everything is spelled out completely. Now, sometimes you may forget something in the contract. Let's just say you looked at your calendar and you said, well, you know, I want to close the last day of the month because I won't have to pay so much interest in advance. Let's look at a calendar. I'm just not sure we can close the last day of the month. So you don't fill that line in. You've got this perfectly beautiful purchase contract. Everything's filled in except the closing date. You think we still got a contract? Yes, thank you, Tamara, thank you, because everything else is there. This we will come up with a reasonable time. We won't say, well, we probably didn't mean to close it till 2026. That's no. You're going to call the other agent and everybody's going to talk and we'll say, well, we wanted to do it on the 31st, but I'd rather back it up to the 30th just in case something's wrong. We can still get it closed by the end of the month. Okay. Write that date on there, and everybody don't have to initial it again because we've made a change. And then we'll move forward.
Is there a rule of thumb as far as you left that space blank as far as the closing date, but you wouldn't do it 60 days from now or 90 days from now?
No, you would realize we missed this. We shouldn't have missed this. I get contracts all the time where they don't fill in stuff. Usually it's new agents. Try to help them. You know, we got to get this right.
That's true.
But you know, the closing date is something that I see a lot
Okay.
because they're thinking about a lot of other things, and you're thinking about it. You know, if I'm buying a house that's got a $1,500 a month in interest cost on it, I don't want to have to pay $1,500 in interest up front.
Gotcha.
I want to close that on the very last minute of that month. So I don't have to pay any interest until the first of the next month. Okay? Good? Now, once we have a two-sided, what's that, bilateral or unilateral? Bilateral contract, we have given the purchaser equitable rights in that property. Just by saying, I'll sell it to you. Now they got rights. You think you can sell it to somebody else now? No. If the deal falls apart, we do a thing called a mutual release that releases this purchaser's rights to that house. Because that creates a cloud on the title. This person, the purchaser, could go down and record that purchase agreement if they wanted to. Then it would be in the records and nobody could come in and buy that house until this thing's taken care of. Don't want to give too many rights away. Let's see, this is different here on our listing agreement. It's a personal service contract. It's an employment agreement. I want you to work for me selling my house. After 3 or 4 weeks working together, we're not getting along. Can you fire me? Yeah. You just guys say, I don't want to work with you anymore. It's over. That's okay. It doesn't work with this one. Once this one becomes a two-sided contract, it doesn't matter what you want to do. Your heirs, if you die, or it's in there somewhere,
Right there, if either party died, it's the third up from the bottom.
your heirs, they're going to have to do it. If you had a contract to sell your house and you die, you've still got a contract to sell your house. Your heirs will have to step in and do the deal for you. I don't know how that would work on a purchase, because if I have a contract to buy your house and I die, how am I going to get financing?
That's true, and what your heirs got to do with it, because they haven't even inherited yet.
Well, when you die, it's going to go into limbo. It's
The
going to be,
contract,
we're going to be going to probate and all that kind of stuff anyway.
Yeah, contract,
But there's still a live contract there.
out there,
Even though you died, it's still a live contract.
and it is something else to fight about.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
different from our listing agreement, which is
Got it.
just an employment agreement.
Right,
One of us dies, I'm not employed anymore.
true.
This one's different. This one goes on.
Okay, and that's.
I've never understood though about the buyer side of that, how you can force the buyer to go ahead and do it.
Right.
If they die, how they getting financing? And their heirs, you can't force that on them.
I guess maybe if they had an
Yeah.
estate,
Had a-
they had funds, so they, an estate,
Oh, okay, yeah.
you know, like when Prince or Michael
Mhm.
Jackson, they have an estate,
Yeah.
and that estate could actually be forced to complete that transaction.
So the estate, I can see that because
Yeah,
there may be other people that want that property
yeah. Mhm.
in that family.
Yeah. Mhm. Good point, Tamara. Good point, girl.
So here's some of the things we can do to a contract. We talked about that first one, assignment. We got that one down.
Can I ask a question while you're on
Yes,
that?
ma'am, you may.
So with the assignment, like with the example of Walt Disney, if he didn't want people to know, you know, you kind of start seeing a pattern. You see Walt Disney
Yeah, I'm thinking that.
like, so like you said, it may be in the name of the broker that
Mhm.
he assigned for that particular cluster or area, so that it doesn't get people's
Put
attention.
a flag over.
Yeah, and it would. You know, if Walt Disney had gone down there and started going to farm after farm after farm, that one's calling that one.
Uh-huh.
But with these assignments like that, you're going and buying little pieces, and you know, I'm thinking about maybe opening a orange grove or something. I just need 100 acres, and they don't think anything about that.
Mhm.
Next thing you knew, they'd accumulated half the state.
So did.
Okay, we got that novation. Novation, N-O-V-I, that's new. You're substituting an old one for a new one. This is a rare event. I've done it one time, and it was with a builder that I had sold a house, a garden home, to this family. And about 2 weeks later, they called me and said, "We just don't think that house is going to be big enough. We want."
What they had, the army?
Well, this was a pretty big house. It was in Lake Cyrus, and the garden home was about 3,000 square feet.
Oh, okay, okay.
It just wasn't going to be big enough. We'd like to get one of the bigger houses. So I went to the builder and said, "Here's where we are. We've got a contract with them here, but they want that one." What do you think he said?
Yeah.
Yes, he did. He said,
You
"Give
were
him that
glad. You
one."
were glad.
We just changed on the contract. We just changed the lot number, the price, and we went on. Nothing else had to be done. We just novated that new for the old. Contingencies. We've got contingencies already. We know what those are. Equitable title, we just covered that. The buyer gets rights in the property. And down at the bottom, forfeiture of earnest money. This is called liquidated damages. If you walk away from that contract as the buyer without using one of your contingencies, chances are the seller's going to keep your money. It's written in the contract that the seller may keep your money as liquidated damages if you walk away. It happens all the time. Here's the deal on earnest money. You get $500 in earnest money, the chances of that deal closing are way down.
But that's why we're gonna say 1,000.
That's why I want to say 1,000. If you're representing the seller, I want $1,000 earnest money. You can write that in the MLS description. Yes, ma'am.
While you're on that subject, on the quiz, it talked about the funds, the earnest money check was NSF.
Mm-hmm.
So why wouldn't it have been an option to, because we said established that the earnest money is not a requirement.
It's not.
So now that the $1,000 check was no good, why couldn't they still have just proceeded on and then that have been taken off the
We do that all the time.
back?
You'd be surprised.
Okay.
We've done that probably twice this year,
Okay.
to where it was so fast.
Mhm.
They wanted to close in 3 days. That wasn't time enough, and you can do one in 3 days. If it's a cash sale, clear title, you may have them. There wasn't time for us to get an earnest money check and get it in the bank and know that it cleared. So we
Well, what if it doesn't clear? You got it, but it didn't
well,
clear.
we've had that too. They'll give us the contracts, got $1,000 earnest money, and the check bounces.
Mhm.
Had that 3 or 4 times. Well, immediately you need to notify the seller. Their earnest money check bounce. What do you want to do? And he's going to say, get another one.
It says something on there about the 24-hour notice, some type of notice that you have to, it asks, would you give them the 24-hour notice? I had to find it on the
I'm
text.
looking at
One of those
it.
portions.
Yeah, it's a question I'm trying to find it now.
And we'll get to it there in a minute. 24 hours, I don't know of a notice there. What we're doing here is talking about the earnest money, that it does not have to be there to be a valid contract, but they've given you earnest money and the check bounces, you still got a valid contract.
Right.
It's just the net sheet
It's gonna-
is gonna show, they're gonna have to bring an extra $1,000 to the closing table. And it happens. People funny with their money. They don't want you to have it, but you have to. Okay, we got all that. Breach. Oh, it happens. Everything's going great. You got the inspection back, and they wanted you to fix this and that, and you said, okay, we'll fix it. And you fixed it. And then rocking along, and they won't answer your calls now. Uh-oh, what's going on? Emails, they just quit communicating with you. They've gotten cold feet. Uncle Henry said you shouldn't buy that house, the walls are crooked. And they won't buy it. They'll walk away from that $1,000 or $500. See, it depends on who you're representing. If I'm representing the buyer, I want to offer $500 as earnest money. If I'm representing the seller, I want to ask for more, 1,000, 1%. I want you to have skin in the game. But you're going to breach. And that's where it said may forfeit earnest money. May not be any earnest money there, may not be enough to fool with. But there are a lot of ways that different parties can breach. Seller can't deliver the title. Well, I sold you the property. We got to the title part and come to find out I don't even own it. I forgot to pay the taxes for the last 5 years. I just forgot that. And somebody else owns it now. So our deal doesn't matter.
Okay, let me ask you this.
Oh, you go ahead.
I'm gonna let you.
What title Cause there's a lot of issues that can go on with title, like
Yeah.
liens and stuff.
Yeah.
Do you guys do, like a rough title search before you?
Normally not.
No, okay, you just wait till closing?
Yeah,
Okay.
normally you get a contract and then you run the title.
Okay.
Oh,
okay, so
preliminary
what-
title, they'll run it and they'll see if there's issues and then they'll start trying to clear those up.
Okay,
There can be a lot of things with a title,
yeah,
but there are people out there, the title companies, they know how to fix it.
yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, but hold on, while
yes,
we're
ma'am.
talking about the title,
Thank you.
see. My question was, with titles, now you know you got a lot of people going around buying up all of these houses, that has paid taxes in 5 to 7 years. Is that a statute of limitation of once you get a title house, that you would have to wait to give that person time to come back and reclaim their title? Or does that have anything to do with buying houses? The reason why I'm asking the question is, I know a few people that's doing this, and as they do it, it was a person still living in the house. They had went and paid taxes, but they started taking the people's stuff out. Well, that was before I even started coming to this class, but I told them that you can't do that. I told them they may need to go and get them a lawyer and talk to a lawyer, because just because you got that title, I was under the impression that they had a certain amount of time before they could do anything with their property to give that person time. Just because the people were still in the house, that did not give them the right to go in and take the people's stuff, even though you done paid the taxes.
Her name wasn't Glennis, was it?
No, she got killed a few weeks ago. The girl that you saw on TV that got killed in Pelham, it was a girl, her and her husband was buying tax houses. She had asked him for a divorce. They had been in a bunch of domestic stuff. She had just got out of jail.
It's getting deeper.
But my thing was, how did she get a gun if she just got out of jail?
You know
what I'm saying?
Vanessa, thank you for that.
Yeah.
We've got a couple of issues there you brought up.
Yeah.
Owner's rights.
Okay.
You're talking about tax sales here.
Okay.
That's a whole can of worms. They can buy the tax certificate the first year that the taxes are owed and the owner doesn't pay it.
Yeah.
Someone else can step up and buy the debt. That's
Right.
what they're buying.
Okay.
They're buying that debt.
Mhm.
And they gotta pay that debt for 3 more years.
I knew it had to be.
And then they've got to claim a
I knew it had to
tax.
be a limitation. Okay.
Now, people think that once I've got this tax deed, that house is mine.
Yeah.
The one I mentioned her name,
Yeah.
she did that on a house. This lady went over, there were tenants in this house.
Now she
She
did.
waited till they were at work, and she and her people broke in, put all their stuff on the street, and they moved in.
This girl
I
been
thought it
breaking
was a year redemptive.
And that, well, yeah, it was 3.
some kind of limitation.
Yeah, I'm not up on tax stuff. I don't do that. I don't teach it. I've been involved in one where that lady, once she moved in, they went through the process of telling you got to get out. You shouldn't have done this.
That's right.
And then the police went over there and told her you got to get out. And she
did
lost all her furniture and clothes. I thought that was so ironic. That
Yeah.
is poetic justice there. She lost what she took those other people, just put it on the street.
Yeah.
And then the same thing happened to her.
I didn't think you could do that.
Yeah, you be real careful with tax deeds and taking people's properties. They have classes, you can take classes here. Denise Evans, I think, is the lady that teaches it.
I don't think I need it because I had good enough to tell them they were wrong.
She teaches it here.
Probably around the first of the year,
Okay.
she'll be doing classes because they have the sale in May.
Oh, okay.
So she'll be teaching the classes then on how you do it. But I know there are people that have made some money.
Yeah.
That's the wrong kind of money.
Well, I've got one right now. We were supposed to close about 2 weeks ago. And the title people sent me a notice that he hadn't paid his taxes since 2014. We're not sure if he even owns the house.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, they probably got that. So.
Yeah.
So that person the seller put it up for sale, but hadn't paid taxes on the house,
Yeah.
so he may not even own the house.
No. A hot mess, Alicia.
Okay, what else we gotta get here? Violation of terms, the buyer, okay, here's where the buyer can breach. The buyer, once we've got this contract, been to the mortgage company, we're gonna get into finance, there are ratios that we have to qualify for a loan. Well, if you're right there at your ratio, and you go out and buy all your new furniture for the new house, and a pretty new truck to go on the driveway, you're probably not gonna get finance for the house.
Right,
Right,
That would put you in breach of this contract.
right.
right.
You were told, don't do that. Buyer backs out. It happens. They get cold feet. They just change their mind, and you cannot force them to buy. The law says you can do specific performance and make them buy, but it ain't gonna happen.
Even if
So-
they've signed the contract and, well, before you get to the closing table, things can change.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, things change.
So, I'm sorry,
Yes, ma'am.
so with
Thank you.
specific performance, last class, we were looking at it from the standpoint of the seller being required or forced to still make that transaction, but even the buyer can
Mhm.
still
Yes,
fall
you can.
under, special?
That's the hard part, though. I think it'd be pretty easy to force the seller to sell.
Right.
Because this is unique. But to force the buyer to buy, unless they've got cash money in their hand and you know about it, and you've already got it in the trust account, how you gonna get the money out of them?
Right.
You think they're gonna sign a mortgage now? They change their mind.
But could you take them to court to?
You're gonna take their
enforce it?
earnest money, is probably all you can get out of them.
Okay.
I can tell you this right now, I got a drawer full of judgments. Never collected a penny on one of them.
So you ain't gonna kill.
Not gonna get any of it. You get a judgment, they gone. Okay, got that. And here are the terminations. Seller, buyer breaches. All right, the seller can rescind the contract. Rescind means we go back to where we started. He puts the house back on the market and we just move forward from there. Probably gonna take the earnest money, could sue you for damages. Let's just say you said, okay, I'm gonna buy this house, but I've got this list of stuff you need to do to it. And you end up spending $10,000 worth of stuff that really didn't need to be done in your mind, and then they back out.
Okay, so,
You could probably sue them for those damages. Good luck.
Ain't gonna do that.
Can I ask you a question while we're right there? I know a couple, they built our old house and they had another couple that they built the house for right before closing. They had built the house and everything. The couple backed out. So could they have forced them to go on and buy the house? They just was like, well, we found another house in a neighborhood nearby that was already built. You know, they had built the house specifically for them to move into.
Legally specific performance is there,
Okay.
but actually making it happen, that's another thing. Like I said, I think it would be easier to force the seller to sell than to force the buyer to buy.
I think it should be a law that once you sign a contract to buy and or sell, that you should be obligated to buy it or sell it or whichever. Because
It
that's,
depends on the circumstances. Like it may have been a couple planning to buy a house, maybe one of the spouses passed away. Now the
Yeah.
one left doesn't have the income to be able
to
to.
support the house. Well, yeah, that would be a specific,
Extended way.
yeah, you know, a specific situation, but because it puts people in, and I guess they say, well, you put it on the market one time, you can turn around and put it on the market again, if I decide I don't wanna buy it. But you've gone through all of this paperwork and it's not just, you know, just 2 or 3 sheets. There's a lot of paperwork that goes into it and you 2 days before closing, well, I don't wanna buy it because I found something else. I think it should be a law that you just can't do that.
Well, I guess
Is that where that
it's
earnest money coming in?
I agree with Marcel on that. Different states have different rules.
Okay.
There's a thing called due diligence in some states. well, okay, we go under contract, do the inspection. Now we've got a real contract.
Contract.
Now you got to put up some more money, another $5,000 or so of additional earnest money. So if you do back out now after we've spent all this time and effort getting you to here,
Right,
you're gonna lose that and your additional earnest
Right.
money.
Excuse me.
I
right.
like that system better than one we've got here. Ours is just, the inspection's just an opportunity to renegotiate.
That's,
And they've kind of gotten over that. I think it'd be a good idea to have the houses inspected before you put them on the market. Find out what's wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make a list.
That's a
Here's
good
what's
requirement.
wrong. I can fix these or I can't fix these.
So you know what I'm.
Here it is.
Yeah,
Make your offer based on this.
yeah.
Right.
Don't come back to me later on and say, oh, well, the inspector said the roof's only got 15 years left on it.
Okay, fix it.
Right,
Yeah, we want a new roof.
right. Because that's just too much. It's too
That's the
much.
way it works though.
Yeah, you better get going.
All right, let's move onward and upward here. We got the buyer breach, we got that covered. Offer and acceptance. We've already talked about this. If your initial offer doesn't embarrass you, it's too high. So there we've got our initial offer, usually with a lower price than the seller will accept. You kind of, as you get into this, you say, okay, well, they got the house on the market for $199. They've got a little figured in there for the
Cushion.
this and that and the negotiations and something going wrong, and they're probably trying to walk away with 185, 190. So that's what I think they're trying to get. That's where you want to zoom in on and try to get around that number and then negotiate. But don't let your emotions get involved. They gave you a low offer. Don't get mad at them. Get mad at the people that didn't give you an offer. At least they gave you one. Well, it may be a third off, but you may be desperate. You may have to sell, and it's the only offer you've had. You may have to take it. So make it. And then negotiate it out, but don't let your emotions get involved. People do that. They'll get mad. Here we got, this is important. Try to figure out what they're after. They gave you the offer. They're using FHA financing, so that tells you they don't have a whole lot of money to put down. Let's work with that. They probably also need some money for closing costs. Let's keep that in the equation and start trying to put the offer together to give them what they need. They will pay more for the house if they can get their closing costs put on there. They'd rather pay an extra $11 a month for 30 years than to come up with $4,000 today.
Yeah. Makes sense.
As a soliciting agent, does how would you figure out exactly what they want? Do you have to talk to the agent?
You just kind of look at it and try to figure it out. You
Yeah.
can look at the offer, the way they structured it.
Okay.
They're wanting you to contribute $5,000 toward their closing costs.
Do you know how they're going to finance it when they make the offer?
Yeah, that was,
Okay.
it said FHA down at the bottom.
Oh,
It tells you.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and you start, after you do a few of them, you start seeing how they fit together. And it's your job to structure the deal for your side so it's good for them. Like I said, that $4,000, they don't have it. But they can't do the deal without the $4,000. Well, we can raise the interest rate a little bit to cover it. We can add it on to the top of the price, or the seller can say, yeah, I'll take $4,000 less. Make the deal work.
How could our side control the interest rate?
Our side.
Yeah, I mean, like the seller side, you saying?
The seller side, the seller's just trying to put the deal together. The interest rate is what the buyer is going to pay for their money.
Right.
All right. Let's just say the going rate is 4%. All right. I'll loan you money at 4%, just like that. But if you need some more closing costs, say you need another $5,000 worth of closing costs, I can raise this interest rate just a little bit, maybe 1/8 of a point, 3/8, a quarter. It's something, I can get that to where there's an extra $4,000 going to come in on this loan over its life, and that'll cover your closing costs.
Oh, okay, I didn't know.
Finances, we do a night on finance, and that's the key to this business. You got to get them financed.
It's,
So would the agent be finagling that adjustment, or is that?
Well, the mortgage company's going to have them qualified,
Mhm.
and they'll be able to tell you, okay, here's what we got to do. They don't have any money.
Mhm.
We can raise the interest rate.
Okay.
They're good with that.
Okay.
They can't borrow money from anybody else. This is the only place they can get it from.
Okay.
You can structure a real estate deal.
But the mortgage,
Yeah.
the mortgage company will be doing that.
Yeah, you're just moving money. All
Okay.
right, here's an example. You go to a builder to buy a new house from a builder, they say, we'll pay your closing costs.
they just increase the overall cost of.
It's either edit the price of the house or their interest rate, they've increased that. So they've got deals with mortgage companies,
Mhm.
and they want you to go to that mortgage company. If you'll go there, they'll pay your closing cost.
But you probably end up spending it in your rate of interest, just like
That's
car.
right, that could be a little higher, or you may pay a little more for the house.
But
But
you
they'll
don't
get
do
you
what you
in that
want.
house with no money down if they can.
But in there legally a maximum that can be applied to, that they can contribute to
Yes,
closing costs?
yes, on different loans, it's different amounts.
Okay.
3% on, I'm not gonna quote, it's 3% on one, 6% on the other. We'll get to that in finance. Yeah, we'll get to that in finance. Okay, what else we got? Tax I gave, you got that. Sell their home, contingency. Now, if they've got to sell their home first, what's that gonna do to their bargaining power on the price on this one?
It's gonna decrease.
Gonna hurt them.
Yeah, or they got to share something with
Gonna hurt them. And then if you do take that as part of your deal, you want to put what's called a 48-hour break clause in it. You write that in there, say, okay, if we get an acceptable offer, you've got 48 hours to remove the contingency to sell your house. Usually what happens is like, we can't,
Mm-hmm.
and you move on to that new contract. If they can, sometimes they can. And they say, okay, we'll take it off, we'll go ahead and close.
But we need to write that in the
In-
original.
Yes, you write that in there, put that 48-hour break clause. You write that in there, that if we get an acceptable offer, you'll have 48 hours to remove the contingency.
Should that already be in the original or just in a?
Yeah, well, yeah, you did that when you wrote the original
Okay,
contract.
Okay, okay.
Okay, we've already talked about testing the bottom, and days, or sometimes it doesn't usually work long. Usually it's 1 or 2 back and forth and you got a deal. But you never have the authority to say, yeah, we'll take that.
Cause it ain't you, man.
That's right. Just as soon as you say, yeah, we'll take that, and you tell the seller, he says,
No, we don't
I think
want
we can
that.
get a little more out of them. You always say, let me check with the client.
That's right.
Let me check with the client. You don't have that authority.
You don't know what they thinking.
No, and they change. Oh, fear and greed in this business swap places in a heartbeat.
Let me ask you a quick question before you
Alright.
change. The last word was client.
Yes.
On some of the information that I've been reading, is the word principal, does that refer to the customer or client?
Well, the principal is the person the buyer could be the principal, the seller could be the principal, the broker can be the principal, and the
Okay.
brokerage, that the contracts between the principal broker and the listing
Agent.
owner.
Oh, okay,
The agent's not in that contract.
okay. I just
So you got
noticed,
2 principals there, but you can have a principal as a customer,
okay,
transaction broker. They're just the person that owns the house, or the person buying the house.
okay. I just noticed in some of the material, it never said client or customer. It would use the word principal. I'm like, well, who is the principal? But I would just have to kind of keep reading it to say, okay, whoever it is, let me get away from figuring out who that person is, just look at the question itself. Okay.
Thank you. Earnest money. Let's take a break before we get into earnest. We're about halfway through here. This will be a good place. Let's just take us a quick break here.
This is a good place. I'm 30 minutes.
Okay.
All right, back from break. Here we go. Got the jacket off now. Relax. We're in the downhill slope of this one. Earnest money. Earnest money is money that Ernest puts up to show he is earnest about doing the deal. Ernest puts up earnest money to show he's earnest about doing the deal. Now, this money, when he gives it to you, it's not the consideration. Earnest money is not consideration. You don't have to have earnest money for a valid contract. You have to have consideration for a valid contract. Consideration is the purchase price. Earnest money is just your kind of little down payment. So that's not your consideration. They'll walk away. We've already talked about a lot of this. It's written in the contract that if they walk away, it's up to the seller, can become liquidated damages. But once that earnest money that went with the contract, once we have a two-sided contract, now that earnest money doesn't belong to anybody anymore. It belongs to the contract. It doesn't belong to the seller. It doesn't belong to the buyer anymore. It belongs to the contract to ensure performance on their part. If they don't perform, they lose their money. So the contract, I mean, the money's attached to that contract now. The money has to be held in an Alabama-based bank, or they have to have a branch in Alabama, be federally insured. The broker has to be a signator on the account. Have to reconcile that money every month. Here's what came in, here's what went out, here's our balance. That better match the bank balance. You're allowed to have in that account, that's an earnest money account, it's a trust account. Nobody should ever fool with that money. I can't look at that trust account and say, well, there's an extra $1,000 in there because we got this contract and it's going to close Friday and my rent's due today.
Oh, come on.
I can't reach in there and get that $1,000 and pay my rent with it. That's called conversion. That is illegal. That'll get your license really fast. There's also one called commingle. Commingle would be if the broker took earnest money and didn't put it in the trust account, but instead put it into their operating account. That's commingling. That money's just in there mingling around together right now. Hadn't done anything yet. It's just mingling. When you use it to pay your rent or something, that's when you've converted it to your use, and that's where you really cross the line. You can not only lose your license, you can go to jail for that. Ouch. You stole somebody's money. You went to the store and robbed them. No difference. Got that? Conversion. Those are both test words. Commingle and conversion. This account needs to be labeled as a trust or escrow account at the bank. I don't know the banking rules, but they tell me that if it's labeled as a trust or escrow account, that if, say, my company had a judgment against it, and they want to attach the money in the bank, they can't attach that money because it's saying it's not mine. This belongs to somebody else. Okay. AREC, A-R-E-C, it's Alabama Real Estate Commission. That's the way you'll always normally see it. Be written out. They will tell you, used to, they would just show up and say, I'm here to auction you. And you just stop what you're doing and that's the rest of your day. Now they send you a letter because what was happening is they were going into offices and it says, where does it say, reconcile every month? That's hard to do. You got a lot of stuff going on. Right now, I'm a month behind. I haven't reconciled August yet. But they've changed the way they do it. Now they send us a letter and said, we'll be in on October 15th for your audit. That gives us time to get all the I's dotted and the T, and make sure, oh my goodness, where am I? I'm $15,000 short in the escrow account. What am I gonna do? Well, I got till the 15th. Got all that done, Ernest? I think we got everything on Ernest's money. Multiple offers. One thing y'all need to help me with that's on this list is the bridging. I don't bridge, but I should.
What's bridging?
Bridging is, we're talking about Ernest's money.
How it connects to the
Here,
next
yeah.
topic.
I need to, when I'm here, I need to build a bridge from here
To get
over
you
to
to
the
the
next
next.
slide.
Mm.
And I'm not doing that. So I gotta work on that. Here we went from Ernest's money, just next slide is multiple offers. Multiple offers, that's a good thing. We're getting them every now and then, just a few, but we're getting them. What you do is, when you get an offer, then boom, here's another one, maybe another one. Whose decision is that?
The seller.
The seller, or your client, your principal. That's their decision. What you need to do is guide them. Say, you can't accept all of them. We're gonna have to come back to these buyers and say, buyer, we have a multiple offer situation. We'd like to get your highest and best by 5 o'clock Friday. Sometimes they're playing games with you. There are no other offers. They're just trying to get you up.
Yeah, I think that's wrong.
It does, it happens. But if you do have a multiple offer, you can't just come back to all of them at list price and send them back to them, because they might all accept them. And now you've sold that house how many times? Can't do that. Yeah, can't do that. So you've got to give them an opportunity. What's the best you can do? And you may not even answer me. Or you may send me an email saying, yeah, this is the best I can do. Or you knew your offer was way low. You're just testing. So you say, I really want that house. I really, really want that house. And you come up with an offer that's reasonable or better or something. It's going to be better than what you offered. Now we got another round. We may have to say, okay, we got 2 really good ones here. We need to go back to them and see what they want to do.
Back to the buyer?
Yeah, you're not going to tell, well, I got one from her for 150. What do you want to do? Oh, I can't hurt her like that.
No, you can't.
I got to say, we've got other offers. What would you like to do? And then you decide.
We had a situation
Yeah,
like
a little
that.
low price for me, but then you just walk away.
Right.
But this is a negotiating game.
Right.
Everything we do, we're negotiating all day long. Everything is negotiating. And this is just one of them. Okay, we got our multiple offers. Now, when you get a written offer, remember our hard questions? Honesty, accounting, reasonable care, direct questions, direct disclosure, answer their questions, and then we had 2 more hanging down here.
2 more hanging down.
Question?
What?
We had 2 more things we have to do in addition to answering the hard questions.
Oh,
This
isn't it,
Accountability,
Okay.
Hint,
The,
oh, the
what
closing
the-
statement?
hint,
Closing-
yeah,
net
hint,
sheet.
hint, yeah, net
The
sheet,
next sheet.
and submit raw written offers immediately.
Oh,
Oh, I
okay.
Those are your 2 other
It was on.
duties besides answering their hard questions.
Okay.
You've got to get that offer to them immediately and do the net sheet. And you always have to remember, if I've got an interest in it, I got to tell them. Got that? Do not hold an offer back. You get it in today, don't say, well, I'm going to the beach this weekend, I'll do it Monday. No, don't do that.
They come back, they may not want to do it.
What's going on here? Sellers don't have to accept an offer, even if it's at list price. They can change their mind. They can change their mind right after the closing table and say, I've just changed my mind. And they can walk away. Or don't even show up to closing. All you can do is sue them.
Well, let me ask you this, Steve. Have you ever had a seller and a buyer, and they had a bidding war going on for a second, but at the end, I don't know, did they actually know the people, but they asked for a letter of why they wanted the house?
I'm seeing that they're talking about that more, about buyers are attaching a letter about how we're going to take care of your house and love it and all this.
And theirs wasn't the biggest, theirs wasn't the better bid. Like I said, I don't know that they know these people, but this young couple, the lady was pregnant.
Okay.
And she wrote, I'm talking about the Property Brothers, y'all, that's my favorite show. And they was in this bidding war, and so he came back and said, they want you to write a letter on why you want this house. Why, and because they said when they walked in, it felt like home.
Okay.
So he came back and said that the seller said they wanted the buyer, this particular set of buyers, even though it was 3 other offers. But they asked this particular couple to write a letter on why they wanted their house.
I'm hearing that. Thank you.
And how about they got that house
Because of the letter.
because of the letter? I said, wow, I didn't know we could do that.
Yeah, I've heard of it, never done it, but I've heard of it.
Okay.
I've never heard of the seller asking for it. I've heard
Seller
of
asked
buyers
for
saying, let's send this letter along.
So if one of your buyers wanted to do that, you would?
I said, okay.
And go back and tell the buyer.
I'm just here to advise you. And sounds like a good idea to me.
And apparently they liked what they read.
Yeah, it couldn't hurt.
Because they got the house.
Yeah.
2 days later, he called. They were sitting up drinking some orange juice because it was breakfast. She called, she held out the phone. Hey, what you doing? Oh, we're eating breakfast. Oh, you didn't get the house. Oh, then he said, you got a house. And she started crying.
Well, that was communicating that acceptance back that we talked about.
Yep, he called right then while they were eating.
Congratulations, you bought a house.
And she was just crying. Her stomach almost sitting on the table. But I think she was gonna have the baby like in 6 weeks. But they got the house.
Thank you. All right. Doesn't have to, now the seller can withdraw acceptance and at any time before it's communicated back. She just said they called them and said, you bought a house, but what if they had a call this way first and said, we've changed our mind? Deal's dead. You can kill it at any time before we have a two-sided acceptance. Seller can kill it, the buyer can kill it. This is what we are guilty of here as sales people. We think it's going fine, leave it alone. You can't just leave it alone. You've got this deal working, you need to be calling people, you need to be communicating with them. Have you been back to the mortgage company yet? How's that going? Can I talk to them? You know, how's the title deal? You need to be in the middle of this thing as it's moving toward closing.
Why is that, Steve?
Because somebody dropped the ball. You were supposed to, you didn't know you were supposed to go back to the mortgage company and talk to them again? You just thought they were just going to mail a check to closing? Well, some people don't know. You are advisors, counselors.
So you on the phone constantly until the deal is executed.
Yeah, and even before. This is the
All
communication.
through the whole thing.
Yeah, even before, you're trying to get the deal worked together. What else do we need to do? You want the pontoon boat? Write it in there. We'll see if they'll take it. That may be just exactly, that may be what puts you over the edge, and the seller's over saying, I don't know how I'm gonna get rid of that boat.
So the agent just saw the boat, and so she just mentioned it to the buyer, and the seller probably hadn't even thought about anything about the boat. Is that what you're saying?
Could be, could be. The seller may be thinking, I gotta get rid of the boat because I'm not gonna be living on the lake anymore.
Because in one of the houses, a van came with the house.
You can have anything, you can write
It was
anything.
parked back there by the pool.
We had one that they wanted all of their furniture.
They done did that too.
No, you can't have all the furniture.
Oh, they did.
On that show?
Yeah, they
Alright,
sure did.
onward and upward. Keep talking to them. And never assume you know what they're going to, y'all know what assume means. Everybody's had that class. Don't assume you know what they're going to do, because as soon as you do and you act on that, they're going to change something.
That's just professional knowledge, I think.
Now, let's see if I can bridge here. I should probably have this one, earnest money, and then contingencies. Probably I need to have that slide. I could bridge from that to this. Real easy. Contingencies, normally we have two. Y'all know what they are by now. Have you noticed we're repeating a lot of stuff?
Yes.
That's how you learn. You hear it one time, unless you've got photographic memory. And I don't have that. I gotta hear it over and over and over, and y'all are hearing it over and over, and it's sticking. These two, you got that down now. There's another one. Well, some others. Yeah, some others. Listed a couple of them. They may have another home. We talked about the
Right.
48-hour break clause. This one's in commercial. You'll have this. It's got to be suitable for their purposes. And I had one. We were driving to closing, and they called me and said, well, we've decided we can't use that piece of property after all.
Oh, wow.
I was driving to closing. It was they were going to put a tire store there. This is in Florida, and everything down there, you've got water issues. You got to get rid of water out of parking lots and things. And this piece of land, by the time they put their building on it, the county or somebody is requiring them to have a holding pond for all the water that rushed down there. And by the time they had the building and the holding pond, there wasn't enough room to put cars.
Wow.
It took them all the way to closing to figure that out.
Ooh.
But that's an out. And all they had to do was say, it won't work. We're out. Give me the money back. Another one is subject to parents' approval. Uncle Henry, he saw the pictures on Zillow, and he's just not sure that's a good house.
Some of them take their parents with them.
So somebody might actually write that contingency. You know, if say their parent was they're a student, parent was gonna give them or they're married and they're gonna get married, and their parents is gonna pay the down payment for them, but it's contingent on their approval.
I saw that.
Sure. If you had a young couple moving to Birmingham, and they said, yeah, this is really great, but my dad's a builder. I want him to look at it.
And he gonna come too.
Yeah.
And
Just
he
go
gonna
ahead.
point out everything.
Yeah, and if they say, you want to get them on paper. You want to get them committed. And if you can get them committed to a price and terms and all that, okay. Subject to daddy's approval. And then once daddy comes down and looks at the house, go or no go.
I saw it.
There's our financing contingency. And the buyer, they've got to use their best efforts. They've got to get a lot of documents to the lenders. Lenders are tough. It's tough to be a lender. I mean, there's no telling how many people they talk to that are not qualified. No, people next door at a mortgage company, he makes 100 phone calls a day, 500 calls a week, trying to find a mortgage company. These are people that have come to him through like a web link or something. They've touched them, interested. So he's making 500 calls a week. And he came over here today, he had about 20 people that he said they're kind of qualified.
Wow, but you gotta talk to.
So he
Yeah.
helps, he is a mortgage, is he a mortgage broker?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah, that's what they do. They do just like Dewey do.
I need to talk to him.
Yeah, it's tough, but they've got a lot of things, and see, the loan, you can't just go over there, it's like, I don't know, getting a car loan may be easy compared to that. But they're gonna look back and find, well, you were late on a car payment in June of 14, tell me about that.
I ain't have no job, I was laid off, I was trying to keep my car.
Yeah, and then you gotta explain it.
Yeah, explain it.
Here's why. And just give them everything they need. Seller, we've already talked about the marketable title, conditions, got those inspections, keep those communications going. All right. Looks like we've covered what we wanted to there. What we got here?
Put it on somewhere on that. You got to have,
All of them, is it the code?
Okay, well, we got a couple of acronyms there. We've got a COLA.
have to have.
We're gonna drink. What's a COLA?
Consideration.
Consideration, offer,
Offer,
Legal
Legals.
and acceptance.
and acceptance. Got to be in every contract. Now we got another part in there. Let's break out the legals. Who have we got on our legals?
Got competence.
We got, well, let's look at our picture.
Got
We have a legal
Porpoise.
porpoise.
Yeah.
And who's riding the porpoise? Sitting up front was
Oh,
Andy
Yeah.
to
The
represent
authority.
authority.
Then you had the
Boyd
age for
represented
competence.
competence.
And
And
then open for
Opie
age.
was age. We gotta have those four things in our contract.
It's not a contract.
Then you have to go get it.
Could be, could not be. It depends on what it is. If it's missing. All right, let's say we're missing the age. That person that signed the contract, they were not old enough. Well, this contract may still be enforceable at their option, not the other person's option. So different things can happen to them that we can either fix it or we can't.
Like what happens, what if the seller changes the
Would
price?
you
It's
rescinding
dead.
it? What,
They just fix it
what
and
if
official.
the seller changes the price on your offer and sends it back?
What's
It's
that
a counter.
That's a counter offer. Yes,
Counteroffer.
yes. That's what it's called. What did it do to that original offer?
It terminated it.
Terminate.
It's just dead as it can be now. Let's just say, got the offer that night. He's in there looking at it. Yeah, I'm not gonna sell it for that. Crosses that, initialed it, and he said, I'll get to it tomorrow. And then tomorrow he's changed his mind. What's happened to that contract anyway? He's made a mark on it. He's changed his mind. That contract, whether he's changed his mind, made a mark on it or not, it's not any good anymore.
Right.
He could send it back to them without any marks on it or with marks on it, but he's got to sign it and initial everything for it to become valid.
Vendor.
Who
Who is a vendor?
Mm-hmm.
The seller.
Seller.
When the vendee is the buyer.
Buy, getty, yes. Watch them on these, especially all these Latin words.
Oh, that's
Because
right.
there's at least a dozen or more of them in here that they group them together like vendor, vendee. Yeah, the seller and the buyer. But vendor, vendee, if you haven't looked at it and know that these are two different people and what that OR and EE has done to it,
Give or,
you may miss the question.
GD,
Yeah. Give or,
GD.
give or, GT. No, we're not lawyers. We can fill in blanks.
So we can't do.
We can't write it. Now, we can write simple little sentences like seller to leave pool table at no value. We can write that kind of stuff in there, but we can't draft
Profit allowance.
the contract.
Nor.
The
Optional.
seller.
Yeah,
Optional.
seller.
The
Sell
seller?
or.
Optional.
I mean-
Or. The sell or.
No, wait, okay, seller, okay.
He's the one that is giving the option.
May option or sell to someone else during, no.
No. But how about
Option
that?
be customers, right, with someone else during option, yes.
Yes, that was Walt Disney.
Mhm.
A bunch of them.
The free express policy.
In a purchase.
I remember express, we have implied. We have
Written.
express is,
Written.
all right, so what's the first thing on a contract that you're gonna express?
Who's the seller and buyer? And then,
Well, probably the names,
yeah.
the buyer and the seller,
The purchase
description of the
price.
property. These are all express points. That's a particular piece of property. Those are people that are buying, people that are
So how
selling.
much?
How much is the earnest money, what kind of financing. Just walk down the contract. Every point on there is expressed because it is in a written contract.
How may a seller? Like, what is the case or scenario?
Yeah, well, what's an example of a seller breaching the contract?
They changed their mind.
He changed his mind. Just like the buyer can do the same thing, change my mind. I think we just said that. But the other ways they can do it, like going out and buying a bunch of stuff on credit.
Right.
Buying a new truck, new furniture for the
That
house.
their debt income ratio is
Yes.
gonna be.
It's changed.
I heard about one that went ahead and ordered the swimming pool to be put in the backyard before it closed.
Oh, he didn't know, he was
It
in
took
the
him over
middle.
the
House.
Wonder how that worked out.
I hope he got it.
Oh,
Debt. For termination?
For termination of
The
contract?
seller can die, but then he was saying the heirs can he'll
Good.
continue with
Yeah,
them.
he said.
We had ways to get out of agency. We had A, B, C, D, and F.
Yeah,
I think maybe we got some of those on this list. Agreement would be one way we could get out of it.
Mhm.
Expired.
B is breach. C is completion of the deal. D is death of the principal or destruction of the property.
I got it in.
And there was a test question this week that popped up on Facebook about this, destruction of the property. You're under contract to buy this house and it burns down.
There ain't no more house no more, so it's dead, it's
That's
gone.
a-
We actually still have a contract.
On the property,
We do, we have a contract on
so
that
you gonna build
property.
another house on the property?
You, the buyer, is now gonna be entitled to the insurance proceeds to rebuild it, or, because you still got a contract on that.
Oh.
It's
Are you
your
serious?
option, it's your option. It's a unique piece of property.
Mhm.
You may want the house off of it anyway.
Or you can, if the house completely burned down, you can rebuild it the way you wanted it.
It's at the buyer's option as to what they do if the property is destroyed.
Wow.
And so that was
That's
D.
before closing?
No, this is ways to terminate a contract.
Okay.
And there was a test question this week that I saw that said, you're under contract and the house burns. Now what?
Mhm.
And that's what they said. It said the buyer still has the option to go through.
Would a mortgage company still wanna finance that?
Well, we don't know any of those details.
Okay.
So don't read anything into a question.
Okay.
Just answer the question.
Yeah, just what they gave you in that question is all that matters. They don't talk about financing or anything, it could have been a cash sale. You don't bring anything in and put it in there. That is a big mistake we make. We'll start reading the question and just assume the rest of it.
I'm be sitting up there asking myself, like, what is that? That don't make no sense. I'm gonna spend all my time trying to think.
Right.
So, you go with the
Consider
best
my own or
offer.
ask, if that's their best offer.
Yeah, we could go back and say, what's your best?
Okay.
Or accept.
Yeah, or you could accept the best one and move on.
No.
No. What's the saying for earnest money?
Ernest did something.
Ernest puts up earnest money to show he's earnest about doing the deal.
Ernest puts up earnest money to show he's earnest about doing the deal. Okay.
Probably shouldn't do that.
It's not your call.
What if buyer offer a post-dated earnest money check? 9 times out of 10, when they come, you still ain't gonna have the money.
Maybe they will.
What we're looking at is the legal framework for
I'm sorry.
a contract. Yeah, you're probably right. They don't have the money. They may not have it then. But on an offer, the buyer gives you a post-dated check. You have to write on the contract, this is a post-dated check, it can be good certain date, and the seller's got to sign off on that.
Gotcha.
Yeah, the seller's got, because that's a term.
Right.
Just like any other of the
Right.
terms, this is a term.
Right.
So would that be called an amendment? Because they're gonna have to put that in? Because how they know the check gonna be post-dated until they get it?
Well, it's not gonna be an amendment, you've got, let's see if we have,
You pass it.
oops, here, one. All right, right here, there's your finance sale right here.
Right.
Right here, you've got earnest money under
this
contract shall be this amount. All right, you got this big spot right here, and that's probably why it's there. Post-dated check will be good on October 5th.
Okay.
That's when they get their social security deposit. That's when the check will be good.
I ain't gonna leave it for Social Security because they're gonna get money. Go on.
That's why.
Innovation.
Okay.
To start over, doing some.
Substitute a new one.
Okay.
A new contract for the old. My example was the builder of the house, the big house. Mentioned this one time.
To take it back.
Rescission is you go back to the original place where you were.
Okay.
Normally that's, you get a mutual release to where you get the earnest money back and everybody just put the house back on the market. Because they couldn't get financed properly. Or the inspection came back and they wanted you to do $20,000 worth of work on a $35,000 house.
So is that word related to rescind?
That is, yeah, like rescind. Rescission, rescind, I think rescind, there may be something still hanging on there. If you just rescinded the contract, there may be some obligations still out there. This one,
But that's to
you're
like
going-
start over.
this is starting over rescission. I'll find out rescission, I'll look up rescind for you.
Breach. What is breach?
Know what it is, trying to get the words.
And you, don't do what you say you're gonna do on the contract.
Breach, you had, were under contract to buy, and you went out and bought the truck.
Right, come up with something technical to say.
Yeah.
No.
No, again, they will ask you to.
Oh, they will?
Yes, they will. They sure will.
You can't do that.
Nope, you can't. But they say, go ahead and ask them, you just change it and initial it for me.
No, I'm sorry.
Money, a deposit.
What is
A
earnest?
deposit to show Ernest is earnest about doing the deal.
Yeah. Past year taxes.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, that wouldn't be on there. Why would that be on there? Offer, yes.
It does not obligate the
It
buyer.
does not obligate the buyer, it obligates the seller. No refundable deposit. You can ask them to credit that option premium toward the purchase price. That's up to them, whether they do.
Set commission?
So commission, that is in the listing agreement.
Mhm.
The listing agreement is where we either list their property for sale, or the other one is the buyer agency agreement. Both of those address commission. How much you gonna pay me for doing this service?
But the answer there is the,
Commission.
okay.
The purchase agreement does these other things.
That's not.
Right,
Okay.
terms and consideration, all that, that's all in the purchase agreement.
Gotcha, okay.
But the listing agreement and the buyer agency agreement is where we address commission. It's never in the purchase contract. Now, the only time you may put it in a purchase contract is if you went to a for sale by owner. And they wouldn't give you any kind of listing, they're not gonna be an agent, they just, you bring me an offer, I'll pay you. Well, in that case, I'm gonna write in there seller to pay, number or percentage or something.
Mhm.
Then it's part of the contract. So the lawyers, when they get the contract, they don't know what the commission is. You've got to let them know and how it's split. Maybe split equal, may not.
Substitute contract.
Substitute contract. Mhm. See, it could have been named new contract, substitute contract. Don't know how they're gonna name it on the test. You just gotta be aware of these, this is what it is.
So will not counter?
Won't count, whether you wanna have a contract yet. So how can it be breach? We don't have a contract. And it happens. Like the example I gave earlier. She said, don't send me anything under 160. Well, I got one for 125. She didn't want to counter. She just sent me an email back, I reject. That's all she said.
Cause you did what you're supposed to do, she did what she wanted to
And
do.
she did what she wanted to do. I called other agents, I wish you had told me this 5 days ago.
Oh, wow.
And I thought, well, you should have made a better offer
5 days ago.
5 days ago. You knew they weren't going to take third off.
Assignment.
That's not of this list now.
Okay.
That's not necessarily the best thing that can happen to a contract, but of these things, that's the best one.
Which is?
Assignment.
Oh, long time, okay, you're right.
For that hours to remove contingency.
Yes. Now, notice here what we did too. We got 48 hours, but then here it says 2 days.
For that.
That's how they gonna do on the test. They may have another one down here, 14,800 minutes.
Oh, they really don't want you to.
They'll jump back and forth, is what
Yeah.
I'm saying. They'll jump back and forth from 48 hours to 2 days to, a week or, especially stuff like semi-annual, quarterly, biannual, those kind of things. They'll jump back and forth to throw you.
Mm-hmm.
So a 48-hour break clause, that's contingency.
what was the example you have to?
Person needs to sell their house, that's in the contract. We get another offer in that's acceptable. We tell them, we have an acceptable offer, you got 48 hours to remove your contingency to sell your house. If not, we'll send you your money back. And then you move on. I'm just trying to think. We probably haven't had over 1 or 2 this year that they've had a house they needed to sell first. Most everybody that's going in is, there's a clean purchase.
It's gonna be in the, it's gonna be in the.
Not true about earnest money.
It's not required.
Oh, it's not, required.
And remember how I do
It's
it.
true.
But it's taking
Yeah,
time
It may
out.
True about earnest
liquidated,
money.
It's not required, and it may be held by either broker. That's what it is.
Yeah, I like doing
That's
that, and it
helpful.
just, I
That's
can
what we
see,
did.
It does.
see it better.
Mhm. That's what we did.
Buyer may be
No.
asked to submit the best offer.
Buyer must be notified. Seller must accept this offer, which you is concerning. Seller must respond. Buyer may be asked to
Which
submit
is
this
true.
offer. The buyer ain't got.
The seller doesn't have to accept the best offer, do
True.
But
That
it
says
got-
seller must
accept.
accept.
But
And our question is, which is
It's
true?
concerning mother.
I would say
No,
D.
that ain't one of them.
mm,
All right,
Which is.
concerning multiple offers, do you have to tell the buyer there's multiple offers?
Yeah.
No,
Mhm, not the buyer.
you don't have to tell them anything, you don't have to respond to their offer.
Oh, okay, okay.
Seller must accept the best one?
Not
No.
necessarily.
They don't have to accept any of them.
So C, seller must respond.
But it
Seller
can be
must
confusing
do
because-
the,
I'm sorry.
does the seller have to respond?
No.
No.
No, buyer may be
But-
asked to,
The buyers may be asked to submit.
another offer,
Another
like
offer.
a better offer.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah.
That's what we talked about, these.
They don't matter.
Don't have the seller, it was like my seller, she, don't send me anything. She doesn't have to even, she's giving me instructions. I know I'm gonna send it to you anyway, but the rule is, she doesn't have to respond. She's already given me instructions.
Mhm. But you have to respond.
Yeah, legal act, I have to.
You do.
As is.
As is, that's not a contingency.
Mhm.
Alabama, you buy it as is, that means you bought it as is, all the
So,
warts
so
and
the snake,
everything
the rat,
else.
Or
the
as,
roaches.
or as
Yeah, the
is.
snakes under the house.
Yes.
Listen to agreement.
All right, we covered that. Now, listing agreements. We got 45 minutes left. The listing agreement, the one we just had, was between the principals. Our sales contract was between the seller and the buyer. Our name's not on there. This one is between us and the seller. And we also have the listing agreement. This is the listing with the seller. There's one just like it called the buyer agency agreement, that you establish agency with the buyer. Pretty much the same thing. What you're doing is you're saying, it's going to be a personal service contract, whether I'm selling your house or I'm helping you buy one. It's like, you've employed me to help you. All the contract rules apply. Contracts belong to the broker. You got 10 listings this month, you change companies, the listings stay with the broker. If you don't get paid, I can't imagine how this situation would ever happen, because the attorney's the one that cuts your check when he's doing the closing. So it's not like the seller said, don't pay them. But if that happened and the seller said, don't pay them, you cannot sue, only the broker. The broker's the one that owns the contract. Only the broker can sue for the commission.
Does the broker have to give the agent their commission?
If they never got it, they wouldn't. Like if the seller didn't pay them.
Okay, so then the agent doesn't have any rights. Only
No,
the
the broker's
does.
gonna go after them. Broker's gonna sue for the money. And then the agent will get theirs.
Because the broker wants his money too.
Yeah, the broker wants
But that's
their money.
assuming that he recovers the money.
Yeah. But like I said, I can't imagine it ever happening,
Mm-hmm.
because you've got a contract. And the contract says do this, and the attorney's just going right down the list, and there's a list that says commission. And he's gonna follow the contract. So I can't imagine, I've never heard of this happening.
All things are possible though.
Yeah, that's what's in the rules, it's happening somewhere.
Yeah, all right.
So listing agreement, personal service contract, one of you dies, the contract's over. And it's canceled by either, for any reason. This listing agreement. Looks like we've got all the same stuff we have in all our other contracts. Who, what, when, where, why, all our terms, prices, conditions. Oh, this is reaching way back to agency. Remember our 3 levels? We had
Oh,
a,
universal,
we had a universal, ain't you on the right track? Universal,
general,
general, and
but it's special.
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 And we are
Special.
special. We're so special. Duties, say principal, we're making promises. Seller's promising, the principal, in this case seller, is saying, I will pay you if you perform. You're saying, I will perform to the best of my ability. You can't promise them you're going to bring a buyer. You're going to promise them, I'm going to perform the best of my ability. Reasonable care, all my duties, you're going to get them. But I can't promise you I'm bringing you a buyer. But it's still a 2-sided contract because they're going to pay you and you're going to use efforts. A lot of times you'll work and work and work. That one that we closed yesterday, I've been working on it since November. Almost a year.
What?
Almost a year. Been through 2 buyers, both of them having trouble with financing. And it took a year to finally get it closed. But sometimes you'll do that year, and we didn't know until probably lunchtime today that it had closed.
What?
It closed yesterday. It was a traveling notary that did it. Went and met the,
We was talking about that the other night.
met
Traveling
the,
over.
they went out there and did all the thing, and they never reported back to us that it was done.
The traveling notary.
Yeah,
Is that becoming more popular now?
first time I've ever done one.
So the
Oh,
traveling,
traveling over.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
We still on the trip, cause we talked about that the other night. Me and
Oh,
Tamara did.
okay, so a traveling notary can go and, close a deal?
Yeah, a notary can close in Alabama.
Are you a notary, Marcel?
Mm-mm.
I think you'd probably want to learn a little more about it,
Yeah,
just other
yeah.
than just I'm a notary.
Right. No, I didn't know a notary can close a
Mhm.
contract. That's what I was.
Well, see, the paperwork is done by an attorney.
But it's gotta be notarized anyway,
Yeah,
even
the
though
note,
the attorney
the
did, right?
mortgage company's got each paper that they have to have notarized
Right.
saying, you sign this,
Yeah.
Right.
and all this, all there. The
Right.
notary's not doing anything except,
Stamping.
But don't most attorneys' office have their have a notary in their
well, the
office?
attorney's gonna be a notary. He notarizes everything he does, but see,
But it may be
this,
more cost effective.
the seller could not come here. He's bedridden.
Oh, that's why you got the traveling notary.
Had to
So
travel.
he might have been in Timbuktu
Oh, okay,
somewhere.
so there was,
They
Yeah.
can't come to closing.
Yeah, he
Okay.
can
So
go-
there was
so he could
there
go
was
to
a
them.
specific reason for this, okay.
Yeah,
Mm.
But it happens a lot.
I have a
Yeah.
friend that's a traveling notary. She
Okay.
does close.
yeah. We had a client that did them.
Okay.
Wow.
Mhm.
Learning something.
Okay, here we are, listings. Listings. Looks like there are 4 types of listings. We've touched on these first 2 already. We had, in our listing agreement that we looked at, we have an exclusive right to sell. Exclusive right to sell means that you get paid no matter who sells it. The owner can sell it, you can sell it, another agent can sell it. It gets sold, you get paid. Period. That's exclusive. Then we have exclusive agency. That's one level below this. This says the seller can sell it himself and cut you out. Anybody else sells it, you get paid. But the seller's reserving the right to sell it himself. Not likely many people are going to take that listing.
No.
Take what listing?
Cause
Just
why you gonna do it?
exclusive
if you don't do
agency.
it yourself?
Well, you may want a listing really bad and you don't have any listings, and he said, I'll let you have the listing, but I reserve the right to sell it myself.
I ain't gonna be able to do it.
Well, I don't know why you'd want to take that out.
Mm-mm.
If I took one like this, I would put a time limit on it. If you can sell it within 2 weeks, I'll do this. But after that, it goes to an exclusive agency.
And that
I'm
would
not
be
gonna
your
spend
right.
my time, my money, my marketing, and all this other stuff.
Mhm.
And in 2 weeks from now, you say, yeah, I sold it to my cousin. He'd been looking at it for a year. Okay, those are two. This is one you want. Either above these can exclude a buyer. This one, all of them can say, but like we said, make a time limit on it. Don't just let them run on with you. Then we have an open listing. This is what you see with a for sale by owner. When it says agents welcome, that says open listing. They're saying, I will pay you if you bring me a buyer. Just that simple.
Would you say MLS will not accept those?
Now, you can't put that one in the MLS because it's not your listing. You don't have the listing. You can have a buyer that you could take over there because he just got a sign out in the front yard that says, for sale by owner. Agents welcome. Now, if it doesn't say agent welcome, he still may be offering a commission. So ask him. So I see you sign, got a buyer, what you pay me? Well, I'm not gonna pay that 18% everybody else wants. I'll give you 10.
Take it.
So you can take your buyer to another listing.
Yeah, well, you, as an agent, you can take them to all of these, because they're in the MLS. These, you'll find them, some of those are in the MLS.
How did they get there though? If
There's a flat fee listing, minimum service, that we talked about the guy in Miami.
Mm.
Did we talk about him? He's got 200 listings here.
Mm, yeah.
He's never been to Birmingham.
Mhm.
Oh, wow.
He's got them as exclusive right to sell though. The owners probably put it on the market themselves and couldn't sell it. They
Themselves.
just had that little sign out there. People, everybody's calling him. Wondering why. And then somebody said, we've got to have it in the multiple listings so all the agents can see it. So he went on the internet and found this flat fee listing guy in Miami that'll do it for $500. He'll put it in MLS. Sweet deal.
but an agent has to put it in MLS.
Well, he's got a membership here.
The one in Florida.
Yeah. Guy in Miami, he's got a membership in
here.
Birmingham
Cause he got to
MLS.
have it.
Right, but I'm saying, but the person has to be licensed
Yeah.
Right.
in order for
Yeah.
any listing to go in MLS.
So that for sale by owner, who started out right here,
Open.
he couldn't sell it. So he's gonna throw it up here to Cliff. And Cliff says, all right, we get paid.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason Cliff's having to get paid is he's offering a commission out to somebody else.
Gotcha.
Cliff's already said, I'll do it for $500, but you gotta pay the selling agent something to do it. $500 will get you in the MLS.
Gotcha.
Get you in the MLS.
Right here.
But we gotta pay somebody else too, so he's gotta have an exclusive right to sell, so when it does sell, he can get the money and distribute it out to who it's supposed to go to. He still has the same responsibilities we have, even though he's flat fee, minimum service, they call it. He has to take the offers and do what with them?
Give them to in a reasonable time.
Get them to that seller in a reasonable time. What's he got to put with it?
A net sheet.
A net sheet. He actually got fined about 6 months ago for not doing net sheets.
We forgot it.
Well, this may be the only state you have to do them. Yeah, I don't know. But he got fined for not doing net sheets. So got to do that. But outside of that, he's just doing what everybody else does. He's not showing them.
No.
You call showing service, set up the showing appointment. You got a lockbox of either electronic or a combo, and gives you the code, gives you permission. You go show it. If you want it, you write the offer, send it to him.
Mm-hmm.
He will do a net sheet, send it to the seller.
Gotcha.
Comes back, we may do the deal.
Wow.
Ain't that amazing?
This one's illegal. Always
Yes.
illegal. It's called a net listing. Net listing is where little old lady and her husband, right after World War II, bought a house on the edge of town. That was what, 60 years ago? Well, the town has grown. And Walmart has opened up right next door to her. She hates all that traffic. She calls you up and said, hey, we paid $20,000 for this place. I think it's worth at least that now. You sell it for me, you can have anything over 20.
That's illegal because that was
That's
like
illegal.
tennis.
That's a net listing. You're taking advantage of that person. You get
The license, the person with the license is taking advantage.
Yes. You're the little old lady, and you tell me, we paid $20,000 for it right after World War II. I think it's worth at least that now. You can have anything over 20.
But I sell it for 100 or 200.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's what would
What
happen.
if
You
it
got
was their
Walmart next to
idea?
you.
What if it was their idea though?
You talking about the seller?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
The seller like that?
Oh,
You taking advantage of us.
There you
All
go.
people.
And our number one rule is
Honesty.
Protect the public.
Yeah, I am more public.
that's not protecting the public there. That's taking advantage of
Advantage,
somebody
yeah.
that doesn't know any better.
Mhm.
Now, you can say, I want $100,000 for this house, add your commission to it. That's
To the
perfectly fine.
$100,000.
Perfectly fine.
Mm.
But a net listing says you can have anything over this. Adding your commission to it is not net listing. That's just adding your commission to it. All of them want you to add your commission. I want the whole money back. You just add your commission on that. But the market may not bear your commission being added on what they think it's worth.
Yeah.
Mm.
Because what they think is worth and is actually worth is two different things.
Always.
Because if you go in and say your house is worth $200,000, oh no, I think you listed, I think my house is worth $400,000?
Yeah, it's the nicest one on the planet.
Yes.
It's
And
got
rats
gold.
coming in right behind you and the roaches sitting over there saying, come on in, LC.
Okay, we got our listings. There are 4 types: exclusive, exclusive agency, open, and net. Net you will never ever do. You're probably not going to take an open listing either.
No.
Open listings are fairly common in commercial, to where an owner will throw a sign out on a commercial lot, and whoever brings him a buyer, he's good with it.
He don't care how much it is, he
Yeah.
just wanna get rid of it.
Just sell them a lot.
do
Yes,
you
ma'am.
have to be licensed to lease commercial properties?
Yes. Barn sale.
Oh, that's the barn, yeah, barn.
Down here, this looks like it's a listing. In fact, it says listing, but that's not a listing. This is a marketplace. That's like a posting board, a public website to where you can put the properties you have for sale on this website. And the public can go to Realtor.com, Zillow, all these other places, search this area, this price range, and boom, everything in there will pop up in the multiple listing service. That's what we have to join that. It's a yearly fee, and you get to put your listings in there, and you get to search all the other listings. It's tough to be in this business without access to MLS.
Oh, oh, wow.
Is that because most buyers that's looking, they're first on the internet finding what's available and
Oh,
what's
If
out
you were
there
looking, where would you go?
on the
Would
internet?
you call me, or would you go to the internet?
Right. Okay. Right. The internet.
You'll know more about it than I would.
Right. Right. Right.
Bottom one down here is called a pocket listing. Sounds like a listing? It's not. Pocket listing is your neighbor told you that he's gonna be transferred in spring.
Gotcha.
Now, you know that house is gonna be in the market
Yeah.
sometime here in the near future. And you got somebody that says, hey, I'm looking for something right around here, you know that one's there. And you can tell them about it now, even though it's not on the market yet, you don't have a listing agreement with them yet. But you can go ahead and say, I know about one that's coming. So here, well, our primary business is property management. So we have properties that are turning. We know this house is going to be empty December 31st. I have people calling in, so well, I need a 3-bedroom in this area. I've got one coming, be January 1st. And it's like, wait, or they can't. But we know what's coming. Those are, I guess, would be like pocket listings to us. They're not out there on the market. We know about them. Here's a listing agreement. Listing agreements, up there is how you create agency. But you can also do this non-agency. That's the guy in Florida. He's non-agency with these people. They're customers to him. He owes them the hard questions. He doesn't have to salute the colonel. He doesn't owe them confidentiality, obedience, or loyalty. But he owes them everything else. But let's just stick with an agency agreement, since that's what we've been talking about. Does that look kind of familiar? Who, what, when, where, what you looking for? This is a 4-page form, and it just goes down through listings. See right here, it's got a time on it. All listing agreements must have an expiration date. If you took a listing today, end of September, October, November, December, you may run it through December 31st, or you may say March 30th or next December. You can put as much time as you want on it, as long as you can put 10 years. You can put a year. In fact, at one point, you could put a year and still got it, because the market had crashed. Nobody was buying. But this will tell you when it ends. It's got to have 3 things in it. It's got to, well, we'll get to that in a minute. This was the listing agreement, creating agency with our seller. The opposite one is the buyer. Same relationship. We're creating agency with a buyer. And it's the same thing. Instead of us describing the house that we're selling, we're describing the house they want. They're looking to, they want a residential, they want to buy it, and they want it in Hoover. Between 200 and 300. Need a 3-bedroom. All right, the tighter you can get it, the less houses you got to look at. But this, I don't have the second page on there, but the second page addresses commission. And it says that as your buyer agent, I expect to get paid.
So it's only 2 pages to the buyer agency?
It's 4 pages to the listing,
Gotcha.
2 to this one. But the second page addresses the commission, and it says, this is what I want to get paid. And
But-
you can say $1,000, $10,000. You can say, I want to get at least 3% of the purchase price. You can put whatever you want in there. If they agree to it, you got a deal.
But why are you addressing that with the buyer versus the seller? Because I thought it was the seller that.
Yeah.
Well, the seller technically pays the commission from the proceeds. But you're creating an agency here with this buyer saying, I'm going to work for you. We may find a for sale by owner that's not offering any commission, and that's the house you want. Your buyer agreement said you will pay me 3% for helping you do this deal.
So that means we're gonna have to come out of their pocket.
We will accept what the seller offers we'll accept that as part of the payment.
So
Some
y'all
may be-
offer 2%.
Yes, yeah, they may be offering 2%. You've got this agreement, so you pay me 3.
Okay.
All right, well, they're gonna have to come up with 1%. Where you also may use this, you coming into town. You've been up in Michigan,
Yeah,
touring funeral homes.
yeah.
You decided you want to open one here in Birmingham.
I'm thinking.
And you came down here and you said, Steve, help me find a good place for a funeral home.
I'm telling you.
I'm gonna be here for a week, and I want you to help me.
Okay.
All right, do I want to help
I
her?
told you. I
That's
told
what
you.
he said.
Do I want to help her? Absolutely, I want to help her. But do I want to give her a week with no money, maybe? That's why I would use this. I would say, all right, and commission, you're gonna pay, let's do our percentage, and then we're gonna put a line down here that says, you're gonna pay me $1,000 retainer for this week.
Cause I need that funeral home for real. Now sometimes going up there in the year.
You're gonna pay me that $1,000 retainer fee, and if you buy a house,
A funeral home.
then, or a funeral home, then we'll credit that $1,000 toward the commission.
Gotcha.
This is just to create, you're gonna get paid.
And
And
also
also,
pay you.
yeah,
Mhm.
who you gonna pay, how you gonna get paid,
Mhm.
and
It's not implied.
nothing's implied. And here we're saluting the colonel. I'm gonna be loyal to you. We're gonna spend a whole week together.
Mhm.
We're gonna tour
Everywhere.
everywhere you could possibly put a funeral home.
I'm not going to Center Point.
We had a mayor here in Birmingham, I guess it's about 20 years ago, and he said one time, his wife got in the funeral business.
You talking about Ayrton?
I'm not supposed to mention names.
Oh, well, you're gonna edit it.
Probably not.
You better.
But he said, we never really made any money until we got in that business.
Oh, wow.
Because you know as sure as you want
And it's
to go down.
$10,000 to walk in the door.
Absolutely.
Mhm. Very expensive.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I still don't want to do it.
I used to work for a funeral home.
Can't do it.
Right, buyer agency, that's how we create agency with that written agreement.
Oh, I think you got on this. We got that.
Buyer, we got all that, covered that. I believe we've got all that covered.
Agreement. Wait a minute.
Here's where we had the listing on the property, and we had the buyer. Remember Dorothy? We got a single agents with Dorothy, and our company also had the listing with Tin Man. So we're actually, since the broker, it could be 2 agents, but they're under the same broker, so we have to have a dual agency. Dual agency limits our confidentiality. We can't tell either party anything that would hurt the other. Remember Dorothy had the $400,000 insurance check in her
So
little
much.
picnic basket?
Mhm.
If we told Tin Man about that 400,000, he's gonna dig his feet in.
Mhm.
Be hard to negotiate with.
Mhm.
But then Dorothy, if she knew Tin Man was already 3 months behind on his payments, bank's been to the house twice now.
Mhm.
You got about 30 days, and they'll be here with a moving truck.
Mhm.
Right.
We told Dorothy that,
Mhm.
she'll just wait.
Yep.
She'll buy it at foreclosure.
Mhm.
Okay, dual agency, both, right here, seller and buyer sign the same document, saying they understand that we're working as, I guess, almost like facilitators at this point. The negotiating kind of gets difficult here. Because you can't say, well, I know they'll take less, and I know they'll pay more. You always say, what would you like for me to do? In fact, that's a question most of the time. When you get into a spot, what do you want to do? Throw it on them. What do you want to do? And they'll give you instructions. Write it down and move on. This is a hilarious video. Bill Gallagher is one of the instructors up in North Carolina. he does a little skit here about one of his agents had a listing on a really nice house with a koi pond in the backyard.
With the what?
Koi.
Okay.
I can't spell it, I'm sorry.
That's
I think
okay.
it's C-O-I.
Koi fish in here.
Okay.
And she had the buyer. Wrote the contract, and the contract said, a koi pond with fish to remain. What else would you put in there? She didn't want the seller to dig the pond out, because sometimes they'll do that. They like those fish so much, they're gonna take them with them. They don't think that's part of the property, so they wrote it in there. Koi fish pond and fish to remain. Okay? Went through, had the deal, did closing. Well, it didn't do closing, they were on the walkthrough for the closing. Because you want to walk through the property before closing to make sure it's just like you bought it. Got there and there's a dead fish in the koi
Oh,
pond.
Lord.
So she went to the seller, and the buyer said there were 5 fish.
Really?
Oh my God.
Come on now.
There are 4 and 1 dead one now. I want 5 koi fish.
Wow.
Really?
So she said, it's no problem. So she went to the seller and said, here's the problem. One of the fishes died. And the contract says
5 fish.
it's not fish.
Oh, you re-
And the seller said, who wrote the contract? Who wrote the contract?
His.
She wrote the, it's the same agent.
Oh,
She was
okay.
dual, it's called
Oh,
dual.
okay, okay.
Dual agent, you work on both sides here.
Okay.
And she wrote the contract saying 5, now there's only 4. So she went to the seller and said, what are you gonna do? He said, who wrote the contract? Well, I did.
Okay,
Who's gonna buy the fish?
I am.
It's the agent.
Yeah, that's what I'm
'Cause
coming.
yeah, the agent had to buy
Right.
$1,000 fish.
But why?
One fish?
That the koi fish is $1,000.
That fish came talking
Well,
and
that's why
everything
she
else for
wanted
$1,000.
But, oh, well.
Dual agency, you gotta be careful, because she thought she had it covered, but then one of them died. Now she is representing both sides. How you gonna solve this?
Even though the seller signed the contract with that in there?
Yeah, but she wrote the contract.
Yeah, she wrote the
We wrote the
contract.
contract.
Yeah.
But to me, that still has nothing to do with, I mean, I'm just, let me.
When y'all,
rationalize it.
what, he can explain a lot better.
Oh, okay, okay.
His tagline on it says, she can't eat at the Bonefish Grill now.
Sure, right? But she ain't got no money.
That is crazy. I don't think the seller would have to be responsible to replace it.
I'm not sure this slides in the right place. Didn't we cover this in agency?
Yeah,
we did.
yeah.
Okay, I don't know why this
No, but
slides
you
over
covered
there.
it.
But it's okay, we talked,
Yeah,
we
we
talked about it
And then
tonight.
tonight, how do we get out of it? Agreement, breach, completion, death, expression, or foreclosure. Commission. A lot of people think who you're working for is determining the commission. It doesn't. Agency has nothing to do with commission. You can get paid even you're not their agent. You're a transaction broker. You get paid the same. You can be paid a lot of different ways. Commission's the most common. You could be paid a flat fee, like the guy in Florida. He gets $500 flat fee, put it in MLS. That's all he gets. Hourly, you may pay an agent to go do something for you. I need for you to go, let's see, you're an agent, agent duties. I need for you to go talk to the seller. You're an agent, go talk to the seller about something. I don't have time to do it. How about I give you $100 to go do that for me?
I ain't finna sign your name.
Well,
Initial your name.
no, you just
Initial
Yeah, you just
yourself.
going to talk to
You don't have to
them.
say
You're
it.
trying to negotiate something out the koi fish. I sent you over to negotiate the koi fish.
Oh, we
We got
still get the fish.
$1,000 on the table.
Okay, we still
I want you to go over and make this go away, and I give you $100. That's fine. She's an agent, she's negotiating, what's wrong with that? Nothing. So we can pay her by the hour. I could have paid her a percentage of the money she saved. Doesn't matter how you get paid. Just like real world.
So are you the are you the buyer talking to your
Well,
agent?
yeah, this situation, I have been the agent that did this, and she's working in the office with me, and I said, I really make those people mad.
Okay.
They don't even want to see you.
Okay. I got
So
it.
you gonna send them?
Yeah, would you go over there for me
And fix this.
and fix this?
Okay, so.
And she can fix it too.
Yeah, she can fix it. She's got the license
She
to
can fix it.
allow her to do all this.
Right, gotcha.
Got hourly,
You fix it for me.
but you can only be paid by your broker. You can't be paid by the seller, the other broker, anyone. No one can give you money except your broker. The title company wants to give you a little gift. No,
Steve gonna pay me.
you gotta get Steve.
Yeah.
Even if it's a gift that's not, has no cash value,
Like what?
it may be tickets to the theater.
That's got a cash value.
Okay.
The rule is there's no dollar amount.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, we used to say, yeah, $25, that's okay. And then they got to where it was $5.
Uh-uh.
And then now they don't, nothing. There's no acceptable amount. If you're giving you something, it's a rebate, it's a kickback, it's illegal. Just keep the line right there.
Okay.
Let's see, only brokers can change money with other brokers.
Yeah.
Like the commissions, we got the listing, we're gonna get paid 10%. We're gonna keep 5, we're gonna give 5 to the other broker. Well, that's gonna be split at the closing table. The attorney will write
The check.
the checks to each broker. But then the broker will write the check to the agent.
Mm-hmm.
This broker can't write a check to their agent. Only their broker
Right.
can pay that one.
Mm-hmm.
But brokers split. Now, a broker may say, our minimum office commission on taking a listing starting January 1st is going to be 18%. That's our office policy from now on. Y'all sitting there saying, oh, where else can I get a broker? You won't have any customers, clients, anything. You won't have any business.
Right.
You can't just set a policy like that. You can set one and say, okay, our minimum commission in this office is 2%. You got to bring, any deal you do, you've got to bring at least 2% of it in, because we're going to figure your split off of the 2%. So if you did it for 1%, okay, we're still cutting our part. And
Based
it
on
was 2.
2%. So you just basically burnt your broker.
Yeah.
His 1%.
Yeah, but brokers can set the office commission. Now, brokers cannot join with other brokers. All right, all of us are sitting in here at lunch with brokers at different companies. I'm having an awful time paying expenses here. And we're working, I mean, we got listings, we're working really hard, but this 2%, I just can't make it on 2%. What are y'all charging? Yeah, 2%, that's what we're getting, 2%. Yeah, me too, I'm getting 2. What if we went up to 3? What if all of us went up to 3? We could survive then. We could make it in this business. Well, yeah, me too. What have we done? We have colluded to fix prices. That is always illegal. You're in the negotiating business. We do a night of negotiating post-license. Most fun class we have. Here's a test question. I mentioned earlier on our listing agreement, you must have 3 things in it. Remember the expiration date was one of them? No automatic renewals. And must leave a copy with the owner. That is a test question. Lots of people have told me that was on the test. Okay, we've covered that, got all that. Procuring cause means you set the stuff in motion that created the sale. You should get paid.
Procuring calls of ready, what does that mean?
Ready, willing, able buyer. They're ready to buy, they're willing to buy, and they've got financial ability to buy. You brought that person to the table, and terms, they brought you a full price offer, and then the seller said, nah, I just don't think I want to do this. Technically, you're due a commission at that point.
Oh, really?
You'll never get it, but the rule, the law says you're due a commission because you brought a ready, willing, able, at terms buyer. You did your job.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, I promised to bring you, you promised to pay me.
So you could, but the broker would be the one responsible because it was there, not the agent. Only the broker has the right to sue them.
Yeah, yeah. Minimum service, this applies to the guy in Florida. He must do these things that we've already talked about. Accept written offers, create a net sheet, and get it to the buyer or seller. It does not have to write the offer, doesn't have to do any negotiating, doesn't have to show the property, doesn't have to do anything except those minimum standards. That's why it's minimum. Cliff's not driving up here from Miami to show a house. Not a chance. Electronic signatures. This is a new thing that's on the test. Starting in January, started talking about electronic signatures. And I am scared of them. I just don't see how you verify it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm still wavering on this one. But this basically says the requirements to sign are like traditional wet means an ink pen. Signature is valid only if each party intended to sign. And see, we get this stuff email and DocuSign. I don't know that you even signed it.
But you weren't there with it.
Yeah.
Oh, because
I'm still worried about this, how this is going to play out.
Oh, my God.
Guess they'll see what suits they get.
Right, they have to get a lot of lawsuits first and then they'll go back and change it.
It doesn't apply to either one of them, does it?
Minimum service applies to,
Neither broker?
Minimum service. You just get that. That's so.
Listing broker.
listing broker, yes. The selling broker, he doesn't have the listing. He's the one with the buyer. We just went over this. He's got
Have
to
a
do,
net sheet and he's got
Yes.
to,
accept the offer,
and present the,
present it, do the net sheet with it,
um,
and then count.
oh, he does have to
Well, if he
participate
gets
in the
it back,
offer.
yeah, if he gets it back, he's still got to deal with it. But he doesn't have to do the negotiations. In fact, he's
They
not.
also net sheet,
Yeah, well, he's got the minimum service broker must present all written offers in a timely manner and produce a net sheet with it. He doesn't have to negotiate, doesn't have to write the offer. All he has to do is present it because, see, he's getting it from a selling agent. He's just got the listing. He's not out there marketing it or doing anything. Another agent brought a buyer
yeah.
who now gave the non-agency broker an offer. The non-agency broker has to accept the offer, produce a net sheet with it, and get it to the seller. That's pretty much what you gotta do.
But as far as like all the other particulars, then that seller is responsible for every, doing their own due diligence and everything.
Listing,
Uh-huh.
buyer.
Fire. Thank you.
I wasn't sure on that.
Hard questions. And what are the hard questions?
Honesty,
Agreement? Or,
honesty.
Account,
Accounting, law funds,
reasonable care.
reasonable care,
Disclosure.
And
disclosure.
Disclosure.
And And depending,
And
we've got some
salute-
things we have to
and salute the
disclose.
colonel.
Answer their questions truthfully. Present the offers in
All
a timely
offers.
manner, produce a net sheet, and disclose if we own an interest in it. That's what we have to do. We owe those duties. Those are the duties we owe to consumers. Clients, okay, we got that. Clients, we're gonna add which ones? Salute the colonel. And that's COL, that's confidentiality, obedience, and loyalty. Yes, that's the minimum service. A, B, C, D, and F.
Okay, look.
Does minimum service require the license to show the listing?
No,
No. You have, minimum service require you to create a net sheet?
yes.
Yes. 3 points you must remember in the listing agreement. And y'all notice I didn't put the answers on any of these.
Right.
No.
No, you didn't.
You all know it by now.
Remember?
I never did it.
And we just went over this not 5 minutes ago. I guess it is quitting time.
Must be signed, writing, enforceable, must have expiration date.
Expiration date.
And
Leave a
no
copy.
item renewed, and leave a copy.
Leave a copy. How long must listing agreements retain in the company's files? I don't know that we've even talked about this
We
yet, but
haven't.
we have to keep all records for 3 years.
Oh, okay.
They tell me to keep them for 10 because you don't really have legal problems till like 5 years into one, and then something happens. But we have to keep them in the office for about 3 years.
And on 5 to 10. Or that's just you.
Yeah, well, that's just what they tell me. Said, as soon as you start shredding in 3 years,
They gonna want
somebody's gonna want something 5 years out.
So all of your stuff not electronic, you basically have paper.
I do everything's electronic.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
everything we got stored out.
Um,
Can we have an automatic renewal on listing?
No,
no,
No. How can we get paid?
commission.
Commission, hourly, flat fee, pretty much any way you can figure out to get paid. And who's got to pay you?
the broker.
The broker. And
The
that,
broker do everything.
I know.
But it's okay, that'll take a load off of me. Thank you, Steve.
Well, and with that, I will conclude my 13-hour day.
Okay, thank you.
I've been here for 13 hours today. So yeah, we do a lot. Do we have any questions before we close up?
Ooh, I appreciate you.
What were the ways that, we can get paid, the hourly commission?
Yeah, pretty much any way you can figure out to get paid.
Okay.
You get paid a percentage of the sale, a flat fee, just a number, an hourly rate. You can split it with somebody. You can figure out how to get paid. Okay, that concludes tonight on contracts. This is a whole, we've got 2 sessions on contracts. It should be on the internet now. All of the material is on our website, newlocationrealty.com. You go there to the school tab. We've got all the PowerPoints are there. All the videos will be there. We got the questions and answers all right there. All for you to just go look at. So y'all go home tonight and stay up all night long watching videos. All right, that's it for tonight. Monday night is law. That's the easiest part of the whole course.
Oh, okay.
Really, you think that's going to be hard, but no, that is
Yes.
the easiest part. It's all common sense.
Okay.
You're familiar with the law already. But we're going to do Monday and Thursday night. We'll cover law. We'll also have some other people in here maybe for that because I teach this also as reciprocal law. So if you're coming here from another state, you can sit through the 6 hour of law next week and sit for the 40-question law test. There's one guy coming from Florida that'll be here with us next week. He's going to take his Alabama broker license, and he's got to do the 6-hour law.
I'm gonna be on my best behavior, I'm gonna be culture, I'm gonna sit up here and not talk.
I know. No, but he'll be fun. He'll be fun to be with.
Steve studying now.
But he used to be one of my agents.
Oh,
And
okay.
he was in the Air Force and got transferred to Fort Walton to
Oh,
England,
okay, gotcha.
and then retired. And he got his Florida license and his Florida broker. And he said, he's so close to Alabama, he wants the Alabama broker license too.
Makes sense.
So he's got to have 6 hours. That's the only way you can do it. And so he's going to come up here and sit with us.
You're not gonna even know I'm here.
Well, y'all will know he's here. He's a funny guy. Y'all have fun with him.
I love how Steve just.
He just ain't paying no attention. He just
Don't
go.
worry, you attention, but he ain't acknowledging. Moving on.
Now, y'all not going to be quiet in this class. No, everybody's going to participate in this class. And that amazes me that some instructors don't want participation. They're just sitting there.
Yeah, because they try to make it as boring as possible.
Yeah, just
But you do that. I mean, you don't do that. You didn't even dress up.
well, they told me not to overdo that.
That was only part of your critique.
Don't overdo that. In fact,
They say
last
go
time,
on with it.
when I did law last time, I used a judge robe,
But
and they said, "What do you have that graduation robe on for?"
oh wow.
So this time I've got the little powdered wig that goes with it.
Oh,
the robe and the
like
wig.
back in the
I look
English
like
with the
judge
curl-
now.
with the curl?
Yeah.
Oh.
But she said to only do it a little bit. Don't wear it the whole session.
Right.
You
Just
better
make your
pass
point.
out. We
Make
don't
your
do
point.
mouth-to-mouth resuscitation.
Make your point and then get out of costume.
Right.
Kind of like they did with the sheriff thing.
Because it
Make your
could
point
turn
and
into
get
a
out.
distraction.
Yeah, that's what they said. It's a distraction after a while. Now Thursday night, last part of it, I'll be in the prisoner stuff for an hour or so.
But you're not gonna do the road?
Yeah, I'll do the road first, and then on Monday night, just
Oh,
set the
okay,
mood.
it's okay.
That's
Don't
what
we do it together?
That's what we gotta go.
Guys, I appreciate you being here.
Thank you so very much.
And I will see you on Monday night.
Monday night.
So, now remember, that's our last content before we do midterm.
When?
Next
What?
weekend?
This week was contract, last week was agency, next week's law. Then the next Monday, we will review agency contract law. And then Thursday night, you'll do a midterm test. Just for you, to see where you are. I don't
Will the
know.
vocabulary words that's on the sheet be in there, or will it just be the
This
ones
is
that we
gonna like
kind
the
of?
questions like you've taken home as homework.
Gotcha.
Oh,
Just like
okay.
that.
Okay.
In fact, it may be the same test.
Maybe.
A lot of the same. There's just so many ways you can ask this stuff.
Anxious on those vocabulary though. I'm comprehending the process of the class and the lesson, how it's been taught, but I'm just kind of nervous about those vocabulary.
I'm gonna tell you right now, that's the key to the test.
And then,
If you get it, they have told me that if you just learn the vocabulary, you don't need the class.
okay,
Because it's a vocabulary test.
Test, yeah.
60% of it
it's
is
vocabulary.
just recall something that you should know the definition of.
I've gotten a lot of them, down pat, especially with that one word terminology, just relating one word to
Yes.
it. But it's like it's just so many. I turn the page, it's like, oh my God, it's just a lot.
There's so much. Years ago, I tried to estimate there are 4,000 pieces of information that you get hit with in this class.
That's a lot.
Yeah,
That's a
but
lot.
you see it,
Mhm,
page after
mhm.
page.
I'm gonna say that I'm gonna do well.
You will.
I'm gonna do well. Thank you so much. Well.
Thank you.